let's pretend you have 10 passengers in the submarine, and that would give them, make up a number, 10 days of air. I'm sure that's not how long it is, but just for simple math. Well, if you only had 5 passengers, that would give them 20 days worth of air. What if half the passengers decided to double their oxygen supply in terms of how long it would last by killing the other half of the passengers? Even if one passenger just killed one other, that would be a 10% increase in their effective oxygen supply, assuming my made-up numbers of the number of passengers. Could that be legally permissible? Well, there is a legal doctrine that could be argued called the Doctrine of Necessity. It goes by different names. Sometimes it's the Doctrine of Lesser Evils. Sometimes it's called the Doctrine of Competing Harms. This is a very old legal doctrine, dates hundreds of years at least, certainly back into Old English common law, from which, of course, America initially derived its law. And it's law in all 50 states, this legal doctrine, usually by statute. But if it's not in statute, it's in the case law, the appellate court decisions of your state. And essentially what it holds is that if you commit an act that would normally be a crime, you can be relieved. It's excusable. You can be relieved of the normal criminal liability for that crime if it was done to avoid some greater harm. So you committed a lesser harm to avoid a greater harm. That's the doctrine of lesser harms. Or there were 2 evils at stake, and you committed the lesser evil to avoid the greater evil. That's the doctrine of lesser evils. Or otherwise, it's called the doctrine of necessity. But the legal concept is all the same. So some examples of this might be you're walking down the street, minding your own business. There's a row of parked cars. It's hot. It's Texas. It's Texas this time of year. And you walk by a car and you see there's a baby strapped into a baby seat in the car. All the windows are rolled up. That's a life-threatening circumstance for that baby. If the baby's not removed from the car, it'll die in that car. You have the reasonable belief that would be the unavoidable outcome if things are not left addressed. So you look around, you don't see anybody else. There's no owner of the car. There's no one to turn to. So you break the car. Oh, and the car's locked. So you can't just open the door. You break the car window so you can open the door, access the car, get the baby out of the car so the baby doesn't die. Breaking a car window, is that a crime? Sure, of course. That's criminal mischief. That's destruction of property. You're not just allowed to go around breaking people's car windows. So normally there would be criminal liability for that. You would avoid the criminal liability by saying, yes, I broke the window. That's normally a criminal offense, but I did it to avoid a greater harm, the death of the baby. Another example might be someone who, say they got their driving license suspended. So they're not allowed to operate a motor vehicle because they have a suspended driver's license. But suddenly their wife falls desperately ill. They don't have a phone. There's no neighbors nearby. The wife looks like she may well die if she's not brought to a hospital. And the only way to get her to the hospital would be for the husband with the suspended driver's license to drive her there. Driving the car is unlawful for him. He's committing a criminal offense, but he's committing a small harm to avoid a greater harm, the death of his wife. You understand the concept. It's not that complicated.